to be here for October 18th. What a great weekend. Amazing weekend. I'm wearing this jersey. This is my Ice Flyers jersey. Thank you, Greg Harris. Even though the city doesn't necessarily have any formal connection to the Ice Flyers, appreciate you letting me be a part of it. You always have been very involved with the Ice Flyers. When they came back, we brought hockey back. Certainly worked with Greg in the titles. I did tease Robert a while back. Last year I said when I was commissioner we used to win one of these about every other year. So I was glad he finally, Robert got one, but I appreciate Greg inviting me to be a part of the celebration. It was an unbelievable weekend. I think this is what we work so hard at Pensacola to put together the amenities to have these things where you can have this. I thought Friday night was incredible with heard nothing but great things about how active everything was with gallery night and getting back opened. Saturday had the chance to go. Really appreciate UWF, had a chance to be there for their game. Unfortunately, I know it ended up, they came back, they played hard, but sometimes you don't always finish off, and that's all right. We'll get them. We still got a chance for UWF to win all the rest of the games and be there and get the ultimate goal of what we want to do. But certainly it couldn't have been a better day at the stadium. It was just a beautiful day to be out at the game. It just looked incredible. Then having the chance to go to the Ice Flyers that night, bring the championship cup in, our fourth cup. I was telling them here that when Greg asked me for a number, I said I wanted to be 4, and he said Commissioner Bender. I said no, I'm the original 4, so that's what's on mine. I said that's fine, Robert, and I can't be on the ice at the same time, but I appreciated that opportunity to be there. That was our 4th title too. So remembering 4, we got 4 titles on here, 4 cups. Great to see, and then the Ice Flyers managed to pull it out in overtime, so just a great weekend all the way around. And then Sunday, I was out at an event looking out across the bay. Of course, we had this stuff down at the Maritime Park here. I thought downtown sparkled like it normally does, and we're working through things. Speaking of those things that we're working through, I've got a number of things, and Kareth, I'll get with you. I saw a bunch of stuff come in. Some PWs related to FEMA, so it sounds like we got, I think I got about 7 of them this morning, so it sounds like we got a couple of things we're finally getting some agreement with FEMA on, so that was good news as well. We hope to be, we've talked about some of the things that we're moving forward on improvements at the last part of the waterfront, and that we should be moving forward on that. Also want to talk about something that happened this past week, ST Engineering, and I know Colin was there, I saw you there and appreciated you being a part of that. I think that was a huge success for our community. There were a lot of things that I thought were great about it, and certainly the hangars and the stuff that's happening. But the workforce opportunity, the workforce training site, I think will distinguish us in so many other ways. If we can develop our own talent, if we can attract talent here, people come here to obtain skills, and we really give our own people the chance to obtain skills here. I think as I spoke this morning on an interview, I said that I think this is really the pathway for us to get out of poverty, is really having these opportunities, having these educational things that will transform you, and having UPS say, listen, if you want to get into aviation, you need to come down to Pensacola first and learn that, and learn it with ST, and then we'll pull our employees out of this. It just further added to what we have, the real opportunity to create talent and attract and retain talent. I think if you have talented people and you have skilled people, you will be successful. So in many ways, this is a great week for Pensacola this past week. So a lot of great things were happening. We do think this next week's going to be good. We have a town hall meeting on the 19th. I hope all of you will be able to be there that can. This is just a reminder that I'll be hosting the town hall meeting on the 19th at 5:30 at Woodland Heights Resource Center, which is 111 Berkeley Drive. All members of the community are encouraged to attend to provide their input. Also this week, we'll be having public input workshops on Bruce Beach. The city invites the public to a workshop for Bruce Beach revitalization project, which will be a catalytic project for the waterfront.
Next week.
Oh, I'm sorry, next week. The city will be hosting opportunities for both virtual presentation, which will be Tuesday, October 26th, so yes, the following week, at 5:30 to 7, and then an in-person on Wednesday, the 27th, from 4 to 5:30 at the Blue Wahoos amphitheater at the Community Maritime Park behind Blue Wahoo Stadium. All residents, business owners, and stakeholders are encouraged to participate so they can learn about the project and updates and share their feedback. We did this, I think, about 6 months ago. We came to you. You gave us our feedback. They've gone back and redesigned. So hopefully you have a chance to see and let your opinions be known. To learn more and register to attend these workshops, visit cityofpensacola.com. Registration is not required, but is encouraged for our planning purposes. So again, please look at that. That's next week. Stormwater construction at Admiral Mason Park will be starting this week. There'll be construction that will be starting there that will impact public use of the park and temporarily close a section of Romana Street between 9th and 10th Avenue. The construction will include installation of underground stormwater pipe in the park, and the public should be aware that the landscaping, trees, and other aesthetic items on site near the pond will be removed, but please note they will be replaced after the construction is completed. Thank you in advance for your patience in working with us on this construction until it's completed. Burgess Road will be closed from Joy to Chapel Street beginning Monday, October 18th, which is today, as a part of the Sidewalk project and drainage improvement project. Traffic will be detoured via Parker Circle. Only local traffic will be allowed access. The road closure will remain in place through Friday, November 19th, weather permitting. So again, this is the Burgess Road Sidewalk project. For about a month, we're going to be doing some work across there, putting in the drainage. I think Councilwoman Myers talked about all the work that's going there. We're very excited about finally getting that in and working it. And it is always, construction is just that way. Sometimes I hate when we got to do some things, but you're going to be so much happier with what you see when it gets done. Just give us this month and we'll work on it, and we hope to have done. Of course, obviously, weather is one of the challenges, but the good news is it looks like we've had nothing but great weather. So if we can stay out of some of the storms, we should have a real good month here where we get some work done. Garden Street temporary lane closure has been extended due to the unforeseen delays. They had significant weather in September and early October. A temporary lane closure on the western Garden Street between North Jefferson and North Tarragona has been extended by 5 weeks. The contractor has uncovered a water main and sanitary sewer main in conflict with the proposed stormwater pipe. The lane closure is impacting the westbound lane on the north side of East Garden Street. Eastbound traffic is not impacted, so it's only impacting the westbound, and it looks like that will be extended because of a conflict with the sewer and water. So they'll work through that. And that's always what we talk about sometimes. When you get underground, that's the worst part, because sometimes you don't know what's there and you find things you didn't realize were there. But we're working through that. COVID-19, obviously positivity rate. The good news is it's down 6% this week. That compares to 7.8% for last week. Hospitalizations, Friday were 61, Saturday 62, Sunday 69, and Monday 65. So again, we're kind of bouncing around some of those things, but seeing the positivity rate come down, I certainly think we'll continue to see COVID numbers come down overall. So we continue to be in a period of low transmission. Had a real good meeting last week with the hospitals and Eric Gilmore with the county. Again, at this point when we're meeting with them, we're really not talking about so much what we're doing now. We're really planning and getting ahead of it. Two things that I think are so much better is the things that we're doing now are figuring out what do we do and what do we do in case something comes back. And, again, this is so different because probably 18 months ago we didn't know what we were doing. And so, again, I think this shows a lot of things that we're in a much better situation. Even if it comes back, we're beginning to get a better understanding, both from a medical standpoint, from a community management, and what do we need to be able to work through things. Again, we obviously stand up much faster. The monoclonal site that we have over there at Bayview, it wouldn't be Bayview. We're looking at other sites so that are a little bit more can be found. But again, when we did this with Bayview, it was the one site that was kind of open that we could work with. So again, these are some of the things just to know that your community is planning and looking and getting, I think, better prepared for what happens if we see another surge of COVID. But at this particular time, hospitals and everything we talked about continue to say we should just see a steady decline as we move forward. I mean, certainly at any time things can bounce back or forth because of a variety of issues and those impacted. But again, much of what, the big part of the planning continues to still be, can you do things to prevent it? Vaccines certainly are there. Obviously, the monoclonal, a variety of other things that we're trying to work through to keep people in exposure. Lastly, there are two things I want to talk about. One was lots 4 and 5, because I certainly have gotten a number of conversations about that over since Thursday. What has happened is basically the council by a 4-3 vote has decided to move forward to number 2, reject the number 1 proposer, and move on to number 2. And I think we had these discussions with you beforehand. I think it really comes down to a lot of things, and unfortunately, I think in the conversation, we sort of also, there were 3 council members that spoke that voted, that were the ones that did not vote for the rejection, and all 3 of them talked about something that was something that wasn't really a part of the discussion. It was presented, but it was very clear and again, very clear from what our standpoint and the administration's standpoint was supporting is we were only going to support what was allowed by law. We worked very hard to get WRD created. It wasn't created until we got here. We created WRD. We weren't going to let anything go in difference to it. Now, there's no doubt if it's kind of like baking a cake and somebody comes to you and again, what was presented by the number 2 presenter was, hey, we'll bake you this great chocolate cake, and we have regular plain icing that we can put on it, and you can get that cake. However, we want to show you another thing you could do. You could get this icing that was broccoli and sushi icing, and it tastes great, and you'd love it. Now, again, it's not what I wanted. I didn't want broccoli and sushi icing. That's the 21-story towers that were proposed. I don't know why they did that, but they clearly said in their proposal that they would just do it with regular icing, which was the regular 6-story of WRD. We said that several times in the original process, but the cake they provided to us was everything basically that we wanted to do in the plan that was there. We put that forward back in July and sent that to council. Now, I understand it might have gotten rejected for broccoli and sushi icing, but and I don't want to eat that either. But at the end of the day, we had an ability to go there. What was proposed, well, what the council went with originally, was probably a sausage. We were trying to find a dessert, and they gave us a sausage and egg casserole, and so it was totally different. We looked at it. We talked to the individuals. We couldn't figure out. Even they said, "Hey, we may not make you a sausage and egg casserole. We may make you something else." So again, there's a lot of things involved in this process. But at the end of the day, we've come back to the thing that matches the ingredients of what we wanted in our plan. And again, if people want to change the plan, I have no problem with that. I mean, that's what we went through the public hearings. That's what we went to the public. That's what the public commented and worked significantly. And I believe there were 2 speakers that came up Thursday night that talked about the public input. Now, at no point did public input say, yeah, we want you to create this conference center and a public amenity and all these other things. I do think that the one thing that was clear, and everybody seemed to agree that they liked, was getting the parking garage. I think the parking garage absolutely needs a part of this, but it needs to be in a way that I think matches what the public said they wanted, what we went through all those sessions together and what was presented. And ultimately, as I said, I think, and again, I think our CRA staff did an amazing job of just showing how the ingredients of everything with that second group was exactly what matched the ingredients of what the plan was in every way. The only thing they did that was a little bit different is they said, yes, we will do a 6-story limited by WRD, but by the way, we'll show you this other option, 21 stories. I think in retrospect and in many ways it just was a bad thing for them to do. And again, they make the proposals, I get them. I would have told them that's terrible. Same situation that we had here. Again, I think everybody agreed, even the provider agreed, came to us and said, yeah, we gave you a terrible proposal. Andrew and I talked about this the other day. They said we gave you a terrible proposal. I said, well, I mean, that's what we presented to the council and said it is terrible, reject it. So, I can't, from my standpoint, They had the opportunity to do it. We don't interfere and tell people what to submit. They submit it. We work with it and move from there. So that was what happened on 4 and 5, and I think it's very good that we're moving on to the second proposal. We'll talk with them. But at any time, if the council members are saying, listen, we want to go back and we want to do a different plan, that's a whole different animal. And if we got a new plan and people said they want to do something else, then we should follow that plan. But I think ultimately we judged every person that submitted against the plan that was there, and the right one that came out of what was in the plan was again going with where we are with the second provider. So we'll be moving forward with that. I am meeting with Andrew Rothfeder today at 3 o'clock, and we're going to talk about what we need to do to get that moving. So we'll be doing that. Lastly, obviously, another thing that came up last week was the franchise agreement with Gulf Power. We have been working on this since I came into office. I would say for about the first year, really Gulf was changing significantly from Southern Company to FP&L. So obviously they were really kind of bogged down in that. Then we began having discussions. Obviously COVID has been a little bit interrupted some of those, but for about 2 years we've been having discussions. We have had some good discussions. We have gotten close. This summer I met, usually the team has been handling these that we have. Keith Wilkins had a team. They've been handling the negotiations. We did get a little far apart, and so this summer I met with some of the Gulf Power team personally, and I thought we were really, really close. And then it sort of came back again late this summer. It looked like we were going backwards in the wrong direction, but I think I hear we were able to pull some things together. Kareth and Keith are still working on that. We still look to see what's coming back. If we want to do a study that somebody wants to provide forward, then it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. In fact, if you ask me personally, I would rather just wait another 14 months and not have to deal with this whatsoever. I certainly want to see the city come together with a franchise agreement with Gulf Power. I'm not so sure that I want to necessarily take over. I think the city is the best entity to be taking over the power, and there's just a variety of different problems potentially with that. Certainly there's income that could be a revenue source that would be able to provide for the purchase, but at the same time, I think there are challenges that we don't anticipate. The city limits of Pensacola are not in any way very easy, or they're very broken in how they go, and part of that would be we'd have to figure out a way to transition every separation we have with the county. It would be fairly significant, and we'd probably be responsible for figuring out how to take those back and get the transmission meters and variety of stuff. So there's just a whole host of stuff that we would have to get into. I certainly don't mind having somebody look at it, or evaluation, or whatever else, but I think there are some real challenges. I think if you elected a mayor, and that's why I tend to think if you went with, if this is such a big deal they want to go with, and make it part of the election, see what you get. But I think you need an executive who truly believes that's what we need to do. What I've been very focused on is figuring out how for us to do renewables as part of our sustainability, was part of our transition report. We've been doing that. I think if you look at what Gulf Power, Florida Power and Light is significantly, to me, light years ahead in renewables than where Southern Company was. They've replaced they don't do coal anymore at Chris Plant, and they have gone to a solar field that's here in this county, and they have other ones planned in other counties along Northwest Florida. They've done couple of projects here with the city beginning to show what they can do with solar. So there are a number of different issues. I know there's a huge discussion about whether there's this institutional power or whether it's decentralized individual power. From the city's perspective, I think we understand if we really want to get to renewable sources, that shouldn't be a fight. We should be finding ways to work together, both of those entities, because I don't think you're going to be able to make it without both sides. I think if the idea is simply wait on small individuals to do it, I don't think you'll ever make the jump. I was going to call Mark Jackson up here. Mark, I think, could talk to you about some of the things we're doing with renewables. I was going to say, before we come back to that real quick, I did want to at least talk briefly on one of the other issues that we've talked about is resiliency. How do we get more undergrounding of our lines? That's been kind of a sticking point between us and FP&L Gulf Power. But, I think we're working through that. We would love to see more undergrounding, but undergrounding cost. It's expensive. I would rather find a way to have a partnership and continue to find ways that Gulf Power could do that for us and make substantial improvements where they see needs in their system to make us more resilient. It is a part of it. We want to see that come out of any agreement we have with them, but I'm not so sure that we have to take over everything from it and change what we're doing and significantly put the city at fairly significant cost risk. That's certainly not what we want to do. I would like, going back to renewables and just some of the things out there and sustainability that we're doing, I'd like Mark to come talk to you and come talk to you about a couple of things that were mentioned in there that I want to be very careful. I don't think there was a desire just for us to sign up with Gulf Power and take solar power, but I'm not going to steal too much from what Mark wants to talk about. I'll let him tell you. Mark, come on forward. Mark Jackson.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to come over and speak. Yes, we can definitely work with Gulf Power to get renewable energy. That is something that we have looked at. We're also looking at conducting a renewable energy feasibility study. We have that, should be starting within the next week or two. And we recently just reached out with a nonprofit organization, Solar United Neighbors. We're going to be asking them to come at the first of the year to do a solar co-op. They were here in 2019 and performed one for Escambia County and Santa Rosa. So they'll be coming back, so that'll help the community also get solar as well. And then we have been doing a lot of work with our facilities team to reduce our energy consumption. So that way, when we do have the opportunity to put solar on some of our buildings, they are as energy or has as much reduced energy as possible, so it doesn't cost us as much.
Mark, you would the misnomer on the 20% or 30% right now. I mean, we could go achieve that right now with Gulf Power, couldn't we?
Yes, we could. With Gulf Power about to turn on the power up there at their solar plant in the northern part of the county, we could try to partner with them and purchase as much of that as we would need to get to the 30%. And that is something that I've asked our consultants to look at and to evaluate and give us some costs on that, so we know exactly what that costs, and we can figure out what's the best way to do that, whether it be going 30% just with Gulf Power or putting some on our rooftops.
Well, and again, I think I'll talk about that, but I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I know we've had a lot of questions also from the press on micromobility. Do you want to make any comments about what you're doing with micromobility?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so I've been working with Bird, myself, and Caitlin Sarame, the new transportation planner. We've been doing a lot of work with them. They've been a great vendor to work with, very responsive. And if you have some general questions that you would like to ask or go into more detail, Ms. Sarame is here to answer those questions.
All right. But we are doing some things right now. We have made adjustments since.
Yes, sir. Yes, we did make some adjustments recently to the times in which that they operate or the speeds that they're operating. They're still operating 24/7, but in certain areas within the downtown corridor, they are at a slower speed from 10 p.m. to 4 p.m. There's also in that same time they are doing a safe start test. So riders from 10 p.m. on will have to take a test before they can get on there, get the device to start. Yes.
Is that on their phone?
Yes.
Is that 10 p.m. to 4 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
You said p.m. the first time.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you. And again, I'll have both Caitlin and Mark here if y'all have questions about the power, or if you have questions about what we're doing with micromobility. I know that we've had a little bit of both. Obviously, in micromobility, we've seen some challenges more when we get later in the evening. We've talked about that. How do we do that? And so we were kind of discussing, and Mark told me we were already making adjustments. So again, I think it's good for people to know what the city's already doing. And then lastly, I don't think the idea was that they simply wanted us to go buy all our power from Gulf Power. I mean, we certainly could go do that tomorrow and do it from the solar. I think there is this idea of doing things, but we got to be careful what we're doing and how we're doing it, and make sure that as we make this transition, we're going to do it. In some ways it will cost probably a little bit more, but we don't want it to cost astronomically more. And so I think from that standpoint, we're very careful about what we're doing, and I'm not sure that all paths that have been presented are going to be the most cost effective for the taxpayers and the users. But that's all the things I've got. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
I have a
Andrew?
question for Mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct me if
Yes,
I'm
sir.
wrong, I assume you were looking into things like, we've got lots of roofs, you could use those roofs to generate solar. Is there a time horizon for recapture of the upfront cost of that? Is it feasible? Kind of where does that stand? Because I assume you want to do as much of it as you can if it's cost recapture in a reasonable horizon.
Yes, sir, definitely. So we've got a couple of factors that we have to look at when it comes to that. Is, it's not just available rooftop. You got to make sure that you have a good solar rating on that rooftop. So it's got to be south facing. Can the rooftop withstand it? We do have a number of older buildings here, so we are going to have to make sure that we evaluate those buildings, that we look at the structural component to make sure that it's going to stand up. And we also need to look at what are our future projects, and is this a building that's going to come down within the time period that solar would be there, which is usually 20 to 25 years. Once we've evaluated all those things, which we will be working with a consultant to do that, to look at it for, I believe, 38 different facilities. So once we go through that list, we should have it numbered down to a short list, and then we'll kind of move from there and start looking to fulfill some of those projects.
You said south facing, are flat roofs not feasible? It has to be a sloped roof to be useful?
No, it just needs to have good solar exposure to the south.
In other words, I think if you had a bunch of trees between your building on the south side, it may not be rated as well as for solar. So I think, but Andrew, I appreciate the question. I think that shows you the things we are doing. Sometimes you don't see these things, and clearly the staff and what we've been trying to do has been very oriented at trying to look at all these opportunities for us to be better about what we're doing with renewable energy. So we are in the process of doing a number of things. I thought it would be good for Mark to come forward as this discussion goes forward. I think there are a number of things we can do that we don't necessarily have to take over the power distribution standpoint. I realize other communities have, and there are a variety of things that work. Not every community is the same, and so I think there are some things that are going to make challenges for us. We're also just facing a number of things that we're doing right now, and I think trying to stay focused on what we have in front of us is big enough without taking on a fairly significant other initiatives. So that's kind of where we are. John?
Mayor, I want to shift gears here real quick. Last month, you went to the county commissioners to ask for support in upgrading Roger Scott. Mm-hmm. And they said they liked the idea, but they'd have to figure out what line item they could charge it to. At 1.3 million, I think it was the cost share. Could you give us first an update on where that is, and two, what is the city's vision for Roger Scott? You talked a pretty interesting upgrade that would be involved here.
Well, two things. I'll address that first, John. First, and I appreciate the question. This Thursday, the county is going to be taking that up. It is on their agenda with not just Roger Scott, but a number of other initiatives. I think they've got several that they're doing. Some initiatives they want to do with Brosnham Field up there, making it compatible for taking on college conference soccer tournaments, and I think some things that are going to be very good initiatives for Pensacola in general. I think the same thing, what we'd like to see is a first-class tennis facility. And Roger Scott is a great tennis facility. It is the only one that we have that's public that is in this community, county or city. And it really has, it's not just it's a city park, but it is not just a city only. In fact, about 45% of their 47.5% of their people are almost city residents, 47.5 are county residents, and then there's a small 5 to 10% that are Santa Rosa residents. That's kind of the breakup of who our membership is. So it's not just a city facility. We really believe it is the county tennis facility, which is why we're putting in money. But we would like the county to help us get there, to be able to really make the initiative work. We need that to happen. The vision for what we want is, a really a world-class kind of facility that can handle tournaments and other things. And I think for the most part, at the soft courts that we have, that we built when I was a commissioner, we brought the money in, those are already doing it. We have the men's futures tournament there. We have a number of people that have played, won major tournaments. Alexander Zverev from Germany, he played here. I saw him play here. He's won major tournaments now. We've had a number of other individuals who have done that and played in this tournament. So it has the capacity to do that. The original courts that are there, they're 50 years old. They should have been replaced decades ago. They haven't been. They're wearing out. But the initiative of what we want to do is create. There are basically 18 hard courts right now. One set of those hard courts is a higher level. The third level is at a higher level. We want to bring that down to where they're all consistent. Those back courts are going to be turned into soft courts, mainly because of the need that we have at this particular time. We have a much bigger need for people that want to play on soft courts than hard courts. Obviously, all of us get older. I'm looking at my own knees, my hips. It's nicer to play on soft courts than hard courts. But we obviously understand for our juniors, for a lot of things coming forward, collegiate tournaments, there's a need always for hard courts, and we want to do that. We want to have 12 state-of-the-art hard courts. We believe that in 2 rows of 6, that allows us to have we can have 2 collegiate matches going on. We absolutely believe, even with 12 hard courts, we can handle major collegiate tournaments here, and we could be a part of that. So Brock Sakey played for the University of Central Florida. He says, Central Florida used to do their conference tournament. He said, all we had was 5. But if you look at most college places, they have 6 courts right together. They usually play the doubles point first, and then they'll play 6 singles. And so with 2 rows, we have the chance to play 2 different matches. We think that still is very workable in what we want to do with the hard courts. If we could expand, the vision would be obviously to do some things, probably some really beginner courts, some junior really begin teaching courts that we could have that would be smaller courts. These smaller courts in turn could really serve as 2 functions, almost the same as a junior court, almost looks like a pickleball court. If you're able to do those things, you could have afternoon, you could be teaching juniors and young tennis players how to learn the game, because they play with a compressed ball on a smaller court. When they're not playing, you could play pickleball. I mean, I know I've had many people who said, hey, we'd love some pickleball courts. I know those are ideas that we passed before, that in the $2.6 million we just don't have at this point to make that happen. But that's a long-term vision. Obviously, eventually I know the tennis community would love to have they could also, still with all that, maybe have more of a stadium court and a new facility. That just simply isn't in the cards with the money right now. But I think there is a plan within what we currently have to make that happen. It can happen over time. But again, right now, I think it's just super to have what we have. Growing up there, playing on those courts, those hard courts. Like I said, I'm 51 years old. They've been there as long as I've been alive. But it is time for us to do something new. They've been a great asset for us. This is the only tennis facility we have in the county. Very excited about what it can be, and really excited about the partnership with the county to make this happen. And that is happening on Thursday night. So Thursday, I guess. Their second meeting's in the morning, so it'd be Thursday morning. I'm looking forward to going over there and seeing them.
Just to recap, because I didn't know that's what you were designing. So 12 hard courts made equal level with the back set now. Those are going to be converted to some kind of a hybrid material?
No, soft court. They're going to be clay courts. They're going to be clay. They're going to be clay. Yeah,
okay.
That's a soft court. I'm sorry.
Just like the green one.
They will be. They will be just like those. I talked with Brock. Brock says, yeah. I mean. Over time, probably clay maintenance is more expensive than hard maintenance, but the initial cost for clay is less than the hard court. So looking at capital dollars, I mean, it had a little bit of but more so than anything else, Brock said, we are overloaded right now on demand for the soft courts. There's more demand for the soft courts than the hard courts. And I think it has to do just with some of the aging population that we have. And like I said before, I almost moved exclusively on soft courts because, if I'm on hard courts, my ankles and my knees are killing me the next day. They are because of the maintenance.
Yeah.
The maintenance costs more, but the initial investment does not cost. Yeah, correct. Part of this too would be that all the courts, the clay court right now is, if you live in the Escambia County, it's the same price whether you're in the city or the county. Going forward with the hard courts, the same would be true. The same price would be true, city and county. So we would have an alternative price because we still have about 5 to 10% of our members come from Santa Rosa County. They would have to pay a higher price, but we really see this as a chance for the county and the city to come together and creating really a first-class tennis facility.
Following up, Mayor, will you be in this current funding plan? Will you be expanding the amenities, the parking, the restrooms?
Parking will be.
All of that?
The restrooms, the current building will still be the way it is. We're not touching the current building, but there will be more additional parking on the west side of the tennis courts, which is between the Vickery Center and it's right now it's a kind of a field that's just left there for overflow. That will actually become paved parking, dedicated parking, and so it'll be there. There'll be a sidewalk that will walk you around to the front. But I still think in general, in Pensacola we get spoiled. We like parking like right where we can get out and go in somewhere. I still don't think that's that far of a walk, John. It's a little bit, but I don't think it's that far of a walk. But it will be paved spaces. We will be doing the stormwater for all that. So again, that should take care of what we've got. We're going to make some additional stormwater to the north that goes into Lake Flynn, I think. So we've got some plans and what's going to happen there. So anyways, we're working through all that.
Are those spots going to be dedicated to the tennis, or will they be usable by either side?
They'll be usable by either side. So, it's kind of I'm looking back at Brian, he's confirming, yeah, it's kind of it's all parking for all that area.
Use them now anyway. We have very sporadic peak times. When it gets peak, they will absolutely be used. Some of the time they won't be used. That would be but we are getting more and more peak out there. Moving soccer to Hitzman has been great for soccer. It's awesome, but it's also enabled us to look at a fall baseball league that was not there before, and the baseball parents are really liking that. Football wants to expand as well, so they're doing that. Right now, we got soccer out, and all of a sudden we got football and baseball parents going. But these are good problems to have. These are good problems to have. I'm not saying we can't solve them and create some things, but we are able to do more than we were before. We have more people. I'm looking at Brian. We have more people in our football. They've significantly went up. Football did. We've got more people wanting to play baseball. So these are more youth activities, more things for youth to do, get involved in productive teamwork, collaboration. I think these are all positives for the city. I think we should all be happy with that. Well, that's it. Well, thank you very much. Caitlin, thank you for being here. Mark, thank you for being here. We're doing a lot of stuff at the city. We're going to keep moving forward on the initiatives that we're doing, but appreciate y'all being here today. We look forward to, we'll see you next week, and hope you have a chance to get out and enjoy the fall weather.